Welcome, fellow last placers, and this is another episode of whatever Chris and I decide to call this brief showing thing where we talk about movies and TV shows. So today we are going to talk about Loki, episodes 1 and 2, and I have Chris here with me because our other partner in crime, Yendi, doesn't watch movies or like TV shows. So what you guys can go do is just go tag him on something and just tell him why aren't you watching all these great
What is he
television
missing
shows
out on, man?
so you can talk about them too, Yendi. But no. But I bet as soon as Indiana Jones comes out, he's gonna want to be on here. This is what we're gonna do. We're not gonna put him on here when Indiana Jones comes out. That's what we need to do. he's gonna want to be on this so he
We're
can
just
talk
gonna
about it. And we're gonna
block
be
him
like,
in the
nope.
Discord.
We're gonna be like, we remember all those other things we told you to talk about, and you didn't. But no. But for real, we're here to talk about Loki episodes 1 and 2, which is on Disney Plus. It premiered 2 weeks ago, and we are a week late, so we're just gonna do 2 episodes today, and then the following weeks we're just going to do one episode leading up into the season finale, and then even the week of the fifth episode you probably get 2 episodes because you probably get the Loki episode and the Black Widow talk discussion also.
Oh
So we're just going
man.
to discuss our thoughts on this, and Chris and I have done this before, so we're just going to get right into it. With episode 1 we're just going to talk about it pretty much like all together, so we're from episode 1 to 2. But yeah, Chris, what did you think about the first episode?
First episode as a whole was fantastic. I went in with zero expectation. I was excited for the show from the beginning when when Disney Plus first announced that they were going to be a thing, or when Disney first announced that Disney Plus was going to be a thing.
Yeah.
Loki was one of the first shows to be announced, and I thought they were going
Mm-hmm.
to open Disney Plus with this show, and they didn't. They used Mandalorian, perfectly fine. Love
I mean, you
Mandalorian.
can't
Yeah,
can't hate on that
yeah,
either.
exactly. But I mean, for the longest time, I was just like, "Where's Loki?" Because the next thing you know, the WandaVision came out. I was like, "What's going on?" So it
Mhm.
was definitely worth the wait. Hour long episodes. It's perfect. The amount the amount of information they're giving you in each episode, I don't feel like it's rushed. It's perfectly paced. They're doing a great job. Um, First episode, I did love. As soon as he gets arrested, seeing the TVA, right, seeing that bureau in its glory, I love that kind of setting. I'm kind of glad that we're not jumping all over the place, because whenever I didn't watch the trailer, but when I heard he was like going back, like I saw like the time stuff, so I thought it was gonna be like a lot of time jumps. I thought it
Yeah.
was gonna be kind of like what's that DC show?
Well, Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. I thought it was gonna be like that, like where we're just gonna keep jumping around. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
fine, that'd be cool. Like I like Loki, I like him. So, but I mean, I did have that question for you. If I saw that guy in the beginning, right, and I didn't know. Like as soon as I saw him, I was kind of waiting for a name because uh, tip for you guys that watch the shows and stuff like that. Anytime a character says his name, it could be a random person. As soon as they say his name, he is somewhere in this universe. Somewhere.
Yeah.
You can look him up and it'll be like, oh, this guy showed up in one comic in like the 1970s, but it's kind of like a throwback. So the guy that I saw in the beginning that Loki gets arrested with, that you see, I didn't know if you knew exactly who that was, if that was an actual person or not. So
No, no. I don't think it was anything like I think that was just a coincidence. But like you're right. Usually when they give you a name or something like that, they kind of it like harps back to like some time where, it's a character or like a reference, which Marvel does really well. They do I mean, even when you think about it, Agatha was like a deep Marvel cut because she wasn't like
a
the
huge
main
thing,
character
yeah,
either.
that's
So
true.
they do those kind of cuts and they do put like those characters in the spotlight. But in this situation, I just think it was just random, but you never know.
Yeah, it could show up again. That's like goes with another thing. Whenever I said like look up their names, take it with a grain of salt because you could be spoiling it for yourself. I did not look up
Yeah,
Agatha, and I'm
yeah,
glad I didn't, because whenever that twist came, I was just like I was there
mhm,
for. I was like, what? Like I didn't know.
yeah,
So, and if I looked it up, I would have known. Um,
mhm,
what else was there, man? The guy at the front desk, man.
yes,
This guy is going to be the net. Like, if we can, like I said, he can get his own show. Maybe he can get in. Like, I want to see him meet up with the dude from Ant Man, the one that like
mhm.
tells everything, like all the
Oh, tells the
stories.
stories.
Oh
Yeah,
my god! so funny when you meet him. I feel bad for him. I know we're gonna see a lot more of him because throughout the whole show, Loki just keeps
Yeah.
running into him, and he's like,
Hmm.
"You!" and he freaks out. So, what else did we see? I like how quickly they go to tell you how big of a powerhouse the TVA is.
Yeah.
The moment that Loki is running, like he tries to escape, and he gets or no, he still has the collar, but he gets the little dial to not get basically rewound to back where he was.
Yeah.
Um, and he opens the drawer to get the Tesseract, but he sees all the other Infinity Stones, and he picks them up, and he's like, "These are Infinity Stones." And the guy from the front desk that he runs into is like, "Well, those things, like people in the office use them as paperweights. Like
Yeah.
they're not, they're just rocks to us."
Yep.
And that, like, seeing the look on Loki's face, just knowing like, "Holy crap, this is something way bigger than I thought it was." And I think it was a beautiful thing to see. That part where he does tell him, like, he's crouching down, and he's like, "I'll
Hmm.
gut you like a fish." He's like,
Yeah.
"What's a fish?" And he's like, "Shh." He's like, "What's a fish?" Like freaking out. But
Yeah.
yeah, um, seeing how big they are, and also another satisfaction for me. For some reason, I like futuristic. I love futuristic worlds, but whenever they show their computers and stuff, and it's just like the basic, like the
Yeah.
little
Basic
monitor.
PC. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know what it
Hmm.
is. I'm like, man, this is really satisfying. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but this is great. This is really cool.
Yeah.
So, but what did you think of episode one?
Episode one was a great starter point, and I think Marvel does a really good job at kind of setting you to that world. So, like you said, like with that whole introduction to the TVA and everything like that, you kind of knew something was going to happen with some kind of time entity because Loki had, gathered the Tesseract, and then just he was just gone. So, like you knew, okay, something's going to happen here with like reality, whatever the case may be. So the TVA was a perfect callback because that is a comic book entity. So like that was a perfect callback to like, hey, there are people here that make sure the sacred timeline is where it's supposed to be, and certain things happen when they're supposed to happen, and just putting that all into perspective so that it gives Endgame kind of a better understanding of, hey, these are what happens to these all these realities and stuff like that, and this is how it's actually saved and made fine. So I think they did a great job by doing introducing us to that. Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson is a chemistry I had no idea I needed, and this show made me need it because they work so well together. They feel like the comedic timing of them is perfect. The chemistry when they talk to each other is perfect. You would think these guys knew each other for years, and I don't know if they do, but I really sense that energy
Yeah,
from them. Like, hey, like the conversations are just so nice and like they're funny, they're witty, like, things like that. And I really appreciate good dialogue in TV shows, especially comic book shows, because people always hate on comic book stuff like, oh, it's only action and stuff like that. But now we're getting like, especially within the last 5 years, we're just getting like really strong actors in here and really strong like conversations and things that you will remember. And it's a great way to advance the genre in this realm. So I think the episode one was, like I said, a great way to start the show. um Loki being Loki and being fast tracked into the Loki that we know was perfect. So like basically, if you guys didn't know, well, if you guys, I hope you guys have watched it, but basically what happens is when Loki's in the therapy room, which I'll call it now, but basically he's seeing every event that has happened to him and like to the Loki that has died. So basically, this is 2012 Loki, and now he's seen what Infinity War Loki has seen, and like you saw the reaction from him. So like that reaction made you really realize that even in 2012, Loki wanted this life. He wanted to be accepted, and he was finally accepted by his father. He was finally accepted by Thor, and that's how he was before he died. And it was like he saw that strong relationship that him and Thor ended up having, and it hit him even though it was a younger Loki at the time. So it shows us that even 2012 Loki, all he wanted this whole time was to be accepted. And now that they fast tracked that, it kind of gives us the Loki that we had before he died without giving us the Loki we had before he died. So I think it was a really smart way of Marvel to do that.
They also it also confirmed that you remember whenever Loki actually died
Yeah.
before Endgame came out, everybody was thinking like he's not really dead. Like
Yeah.
I remember watching videos and they're like, oh, Loki
A
is
bunch of theories. Yeah.
left-handed and he uses
Hmm.
his right hand. That could be a clone. And this one just like confirmed it. Like, no, man, like he actually
Nope.
he is gone. He was dead.
Hmm.
So seeing that though is like seeing the way it ends for him. I mean, you could totally like the way it's going, man. I feel like they're gonna bring him back into the universe, and I really hope he does, man. He's a great character. You don't need him in the movies. We obviously can see that he can keep the TV show keep going, become a hidden agent of the Minutemen basically, and kind of go through there. That would be cool. Another question for you: has the TVA always? I know the timekeepers have been a thing. Has the TVA always been a thing in like the comics and stuff?
Yeah, like I said, that this was a callback to the comics.
Okay.
Essentially, the TVA is a comic book entity. Like obviously, what the MCU does is they'll take the idea and then they make a few changes. So like it's not like directly the way it was because it was followed by like leaded by someone else
Yeah.
and things like that. But like what they do is they'll take the premise of that and then they'll just make it into something brand new or like just change a few things here and there and then give it to us anyway, which is why like I love that they do that because it's a nice callback and it's furthering those characters. So like those characters don't just stay stale in the comics and then people are just like, oh well, they never use these like, but you need to modernize certain things in the comic because if I remember, I don't think the TVA was like mentioned in like I don't even know like the last 20 years or something like that. So like I don't like what I mean in writing itself. I could be wrong on that, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's been a while since they have been like part of any of the main stories, which like I said, this is a perfect way to introduce that. And if you want to use them in the comic books now you can because the TV show kind of like is bringing that back. So I think it's a really nice touch. I think it's great that they use something like that. And then I will give a theory, which is kind of crazy. If you were now that you see the TVA like city and stuff like that, if you remember, do you remember Ant-Man when they're in the quantum realm?
Yeah.
You remember that city they see?
Yes.
I think it's the TVA city.
So you think it's like
I think they're in the quantum realm.
yeah.
I think they're hidden in the quantum realm, and I have the pictures, a picture to show you, but I'll show it to you off stream. But my theory is that because it seems we never go to that city in the quantum realm,
Yeah.
but like Marvel, like we said, always puts things that you kind of can call back to, and I think that's one of their callbacks. But I digress.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. I think it's insane.
Oh man.
So
Before you hit
yeah,
before we go to episode 2, what was your favorite scene from episode 1?
my favorite scene on episode 1 would have been I really do like the Loki being fast tracked. I think it was like I said, very smart of them to do it that way. That way we can still deal with the Loki that we've known and loved and grew with without actually pulling that same Loki and being like, oh well, that Loki didn't die. Like, you know what I mean? I think this is a really smart way to bring back that Loki and let us know that even in 2012 this Loki loved Thor and he
Yeah.
loved Odin and he loved everything about that. And all he wanted to do was be accepted. And he finally got that. And now that 2012 Loki understands that, I feel like that was my favorite scene because and Tom Hiddleston did such a great job at, conveying that emotion and showing that pain and stuff like that.
But
So
you
I
can
thought it was
see in him
perfect.
too, like he's trying to. It's almost like him fighting himself. Like
Yes.
he wants to
Yeah.
do the right thing, but also at the
Hmm.
same time, it's like an
He's the
itch.
god of
Like he's
mischief.
like, yeah, he's like, I
Like,
have to do it.
I have to
So
do something
yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
So
Yeah.
my favorite is from a comedic standpoint is that part right before like he has to step through the like metal detection scanner,
Yeah.
and he's like, can you tell us like, hey, can you tell us that that you do in fact have a soul? And he's like,
Hmm.
wait, do people actually get confused about that? And he's like, he's just like, okay, go ahead and step on through. And he's like,
Yeah.
well, what if I am a robot? And he's like, well, then the machine will
Yeah.
rip you from the inside out.
You would have known already.
Oh, okay,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
basically.
So he's like, oh, do I step through? And that guy just gets so annoyed. He's like, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, get on through here. And then
Yeah.
also the I don't know why the real cool interest for me was whenever he goes in and they have the stack of papers and it's like everything he's ever said. But the stack of papers, I'm looking at it and I was like, I'm like, look,
Exactly.
I'm like,
But it was
okay.
funny because even when he was saying things, like
Yeah, it
as
would
he
print
kept
out.
saying
He's
them,
like, sign
we were
that.
printing out a new one.
Yeah, but you could tell that that guy was just like, okay, this happens every time, and they're finally gonna like after 3 or 4 pages, they realize like, oh, this thing really records
Just
everything
sign
I
it.
say.
Like,
yeah, just sign it, please. All right, but on to episode 2.
Yeah, episode 2. I mean, episode 2, just like I said, it added to all the strong points of episode 1. The chemistry of Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston, perfect again. Like I said, my favorite my favorite moment in this episode was when he was talking about the whole, the way that the Asgard and like the major events happen, and how, the Loki that they were looking for, which we should have said at the end of episode 1, was basically, Loki's looking for himself,
Oh yeah, true.
essentially,
Yeah.
is the way that episode 1 ended. And I know I've jumped kind of towards the end of this episode, but basically my favorite part was he basically is trying to explain to Owen Wilson like how the other Loki is hiding from them, and he's like, he's hiding in major time events. And what he does is he just takes his salad, and he's like, almost, it's like, come on, dude, like I'm gonna eat that, like, you know what I mean? And he's like, not my salad. And then Loki is just like salt, pepper, and then he puts the whole water thing behind him, like, you know what I mean? And he completely ruins it on purpose because he's Loki, and this was his way of getting him back.
Yeah,
and again,
even at the end of it, he's just like, okay, it was a poor metaphor, but anyway, like,
yeah, exactly. Like you can tell Loki was doing it on purpose just to get him upset because of like for him to go through all this crap. Which again, just showing Loki's character that way is perfect. It shows his mischief. It shows his that he has to have that little bit of itch to mess with people. Another great scene was when they went to the circus, and Loki tried to pretty much like tell him a runaround. Like if it was me, I would have basically been out. Like he's like, okay, well like this person's outside. Like the other, variant is outside. So whatever. And then Owen Wilson's like,
that moment, he's like sitting there. He's like, he's lying. He's like, nobody's outside, and he's like, let's go. And I was like, what?
It's really cool, their chemistry, and just you can tell that Loki has his own objective, even though he's trying to help. But he's like, it's like we said earlier, he kind of has this like, I want to help, I want to do right, but I have like my own interior motives that I want to kind of figure out, and we'll talk about it later too. But we never know with Loki, right?
Yeah.
So and I think Marvel has done a great job over the years making us never know. So like if he does go one way, we're like, oh my God, he went that way. And if he goes the other way, we're like, oh my God, he went that way. Because like you just don't know which way he's gonna go. So like you're really in suspense on every scene because you don't know if he has a backwards plan or something else, and you just have to follow it. And again, we're following 2012 Loki. So like he doesn't have the years, even though he's seen everything, he doesn't have the years that the Loki we had in Infinity War had.
Yeah.
So he can still be like, he still has that itch. So I thought episode 2 was fantastic. What did you think?
I loved it a lot too. Owen Wilson was a big deal in this one. I did like how in this episode Loki's trying to get more involved with them. He's just like he starts to like investigating and trying to find
more information.
more information. But also Owen Wilson like gets annoyed with him, and you also feel it. So whenever he's running through and he's actually like telling him, he's like, will you like shut up? Like you're so annoying. What happened to the guy that was in the elevator that just didn't want to talk to me and everything? Like go back to that. And I remember it's like sitting there watching the episode, and I'm like, and I felt it too. I'm like, man, he is kind of annoying. Like he's getting to that point where he just doesn't shut up. He has everything to say about something. I did like when he's trying to stay in disguise and trying to get the files on everything, and he's just like that's the moment where I'm just like, okay, everybody really just doesn't like him right now. And that lady's just typing away on her computer. And he's like, hey, excuse me. And then he rings the bell, and she knows like he's not going to go away. She kind of looks up to like, what do you want? And he's like, I want all these files. And she's like, it's classified. And he's like, okay. And he just keeps like pushing. Like, I like that he kept pushing and pushing to get what he wants.
I like that he had to ring the bell because she was like on her computer.
Yeah,
just
she's just going.
Thing.
And then
he's like, bing. Like it was great.
She just gives him that side eye like,
Like, what do you want?
What,
Like,
man?
and then I thought it was great also that she just gives it. He's like, "Well, what files can I have?" And then she gives him the files that he was supposed to be reading anyway.
Yeah.
So it was like it's just. I mean, it has a real nice dose of serious, a nice dose of funny, and I think Marvel always does that perfect. Like they always give us a even in the the sad movies and stuff like that. They still give us a dose of comedy. They still give us like a dose of serious, and it's you just get all the emotions, and it's so good.
Another thing, another moment that made me like, it wasn't like a cringe moment, but it was when he finally explains to Owen Wilson, or Owen Wilson's character is Mobius, right? That's his name.
Mobius,
Yeah, Mobius. Whenever he explains to Mobius, like, they're hiding in destruction or in catastrophic events because it doesn't matter. To test the theory, as he's like, how do we test it? And then I saw Pompeii come up, and I was like, oh, that's messed up.
Yeah,
and him sitting there, and him sitting there,
and he just throwing things around.
Yeah, and he goes out, and he's like, "You guys are all gonna die."
Yeah.
So, and them cutting to the guy that looks at him like this guy's an idiot, like he's crazy. This is a crazy guy. And then the volcano explodes, and then you see people running. And he's like, "See, it doesn't matter." Like, and you just know the story of Pompeii. You know what's going on, and he's just sitting there smiling, like, look what I did.
See, I was right. Like he did it. Like I said, Tom Hiddleston's just the perfect person for this cat. Like you never know about like until you see it, and then you're like, wow, he's just the perfect Loki. And then to go on to the point, now they're going to they're still searching for the Loki that is the entity. And I wanted to do because I knew this was going to happen because I knew that they were going to do this callback reference, but I did love they went to the store and like the way that the Loki that they're chasing was able to do the powers that switch her powers around and stuff like that and give like to continue the conversation, which is pretty much what Loki would do anyway because he is a trickster. This is what he does. I also, before we get to that, before I continue, I love that he explained his powers also.
Yeah.
Because like to earlier on in that episode, he's like, oh, I can like, no, it's not the same thing. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, it just shows you like, a good explanation. And then classic Marvel MCU, they show you that power later on because that's what, the other Loki does. So it's like, it's a perfect, it was perfect. And then we finally find out what the other Loki's plan was. Well, we kind of figure it out. We also see the reveal that it's a female Loki, which is a huge comic book reference because Loki was gone for a while and then returned as a woman. So again, it doesn't mean that it's a female Loki. It's still Loki. He is just a female. Like, you know what I mean? It's not, he's just a woman now. So it's not like, you know what I mean, a lady Loki kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's literally just Loki as a woman. So, and he did that in the comics, which was a big thing because people got all hurt and blah, 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 whatever. It was a great change. It's Loki. He's the god of mischief and he hides his identity. Why? If you think he wouldn't switch himself into a woman, like Loki would do anything to get to his plan.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did. So he's Loki. He is the god of mischief. He has shape-shifting powers. He'll do things like this. So she then opens up this portal to where we have no idea because I have no idea what's going on. I didn't watch the trailer, so I don't know what's next or any of that stuff. And I can't like really summarize it. And I do that purposely. But I want to know, Chris, what do you think is going to happen next now that,
Bro, I have no idea because that moment, where they're running up to him and he's like, Loki, wait, like, I thought he was going to stay there with him. And at the same time, I was thinking, I'm like, okay, well, this girl just got like the security guard that got possessed and gets knocked out thinks Loki did it. So I'm like, if he gets caught right now, they're not going to let him continue. No, like that's the feeling you get. Like you also see it on his face. He's like, do I stay here? But at the same time, they're going to think I did this. So I need to go. Like, no matter what, I just need to go. So when he jumps through and follows, but I also think that other Loki knew he was going to follow.
Yeah, but you knew Loki was going to go because Loki needs to know what's next.
What's going on.
That's another thing about his character. Like, at the end of the day, and you don't, now that you've given up the plan and you knew where, she was hiding this whole time, like she's not going to do the same thing again. So you might have never gotten access to her again. And I think Loki knows that. Loki knew that before. He was like, if I stay here, not only do I not get to see what happens next or get to see what her plan was, but also like we're never going to catch her again because at the end of the day, like she's not going to use the same trick that she used before. Now she's going to have to try to find a brand new trick. But what's the point when I can just go through this portal now?
Yeah.
So I think Loki went in knowing I can't go back. I can't stay here. I need to figure out what's next. And he's going to do that. What's next for Loki? I have no idea. I can't even lie to you. I feel like we're just going to go on this epic journey of just going through different times and things like that to figure out what's going to happen. I I don't have like a theory on what's next. I just know obviously Loki's going to be chasing Loki and we're going to figure out what's going on. And I feel like we're going to have a lot of fun moments
Yeah.
where Loki's stuck in these time zones or these realities for like an episode or something, and he's just going to do some ridiculously fun things. And I feel like we're just going to be on a journey of Loki doing fun things, and then towards the end of most episodes, we're going to get like that serious, the serious story driven parts where he moves on like. And I think that's what's gonna happen. We're gonna have like a little bit. We're gonna have some fun, and then it's gonna have some little bit of story into it, and then the last episode, like last couple minutes or last like 30, 20
Yeah.
minutes, they're gonna really hit home on where we're going next. So
Uh,
I'm really excited. So
do you think we see is it Loki or no? Is it Thor's brother, cousin, something like that? The bird looking Thor?
the bird looking Thor.
You
You
know what
mean
I'm
Beta
talking?
Ray Bill?
Is that what it's called?
It's not like a bird looking Thor.
It
He's like
looks
a
it looks weird. Like you
yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Beta
yeah.
Ray Bill. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
that's
yeah, yeah.
Beta Ray
Do you
Bill.
think we
He's the
see?
one who wields Stormbreaker. We might. I don't see why we wouldn't, but I could
I feel like
also
this
see
is
them
a moment.
saving a. That it's one of
It's
the
a
moments. I
perfect
mean, they've had
chance.
a few moments because in Ragnarok actually, when they're in the Colosseum,
Yeah,
that when in World War Hulk, because they kind of added the movies together.
yeah,
In World War Hulk, he actually fights Beta Ray Bill and he
yeah,
doesn't fight Thor. So I thought maybe they would have showed him in the arena, but I mean they have multiple opportunities. It could be this. We just don't know where they're going. Like,
yeah.
are they going
Exactly.
back to Asgard? Are they going like we don't know where they're going? And I think they might save it for Love and Thunder, but we'll see.
We'll
I
see.
mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I do think they will introduce Beta Ray Bill at some point because Stormbreaker is the weapon he actually uses. So we'll see.
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. The first two
Yeah, so that
episodes, very solid.
first
Love them.
very solid, great. We're on the journey. It was also the um most watched premiere because every one that they come out with have been escalating. So like
Yeah,
Wanda was like a crazy number, and then Falcon and Winter Soldier was a crazy number, and now this is a crazy number. And what's even more interesting that this number was crazy, and it came out on a Wednesday, like a
yeah,
Wednesday. And I feel, and Disney actually came out with a statement that they're gonna do some more releases on Wednesday, and then, but I think they did this. I was talking to you guys earlier about this, but I think they did this because Star Wars comes out on Friday because they're gonna start doing Star Wars on Friday, and I think Marvel's gonna be Wednesday. That way, for the weekend, you have two things to
yeah,
watch and not just watching it all on Friday. So like now they've taken over the Wednesday time slot, like the most watched thing on Wednesday, and then now they're gonna have like the most watched thing on Friday. So it's just Disney doing smart marketing and smart distribution. So. But that is it for this episode. We are going to be back next week to talk about episode 3. If you guys have any comments, any theories, or any of that stuff, drop them in the comments and we'll love to talk about them and see what you guys say. And if you guys have any comic book questions or like
yeah. And maybe
theories,
if
we
you're
want to hear
interested,
all of it.
in joining us in a conversation, we'd love to do like a big conversation at the end of this. Maybe on the
Yeah,
last episode, get some guests on and just talk
yeah, that'd
about
be
it as a
awesome.
whole. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. So if you guys, enjoyed this, please drop the like, subscribe, do all that good stuff that all the other YouTubers say, because that helps the algorithm and it helps us get more exposure. So with that said, though, guys, we are out for this episode. We will see you guys next week. We'll see you guys on Tuesday, 8 o'clock for the live stream. This is Fire Team out.